All right, today we are diving into a really powerful, and let's be real, kind of complex Canadian tax concept that could literally save business owners millions. This is a strategy every single entrepreneur should know about. So, picture this. You've poured your blood, sweat, and tears into building your business. You finally sell it for a life-changing sum of money, and you get to keep pretty much all of it. That's the dream, isn't it? Well, that dream is made possible by something called the Lifetime Capital Gains Exemption, or the LCGE. For a $1 million gain, we're talking about the difference between paying a $250,000 tax bill or paying next to nothing. Huge difference, right? But actually unlocking it, well, that's not always so simple. Okay, so here's the game plan. We'll start with the big goal and the common roadblock people run into. Then, we're going to find the magic key to solve that problem. We'll walk through 6 specific rules, starting with the simple ones and getting into some surprisingly complex situations. And then, we'll bring it all home to show you exactly why this is so important.
First up, let's set the stage. We know what we want, that huge tax break. But for a lot of business owners, there's a pretty common structural hurdle standing in the way.
You know, a super common setup for business owners is to have 2 separate companies. You've got your OpCo, that's the one doing the day-to-day business, and then you have a LandCo, which holds valuable assets, like your land or your building. Now, when it's time to sell, you want to use that LCGE for both companies. But here's the snag. The LandCo, all by itself, often doesn't pass the really strict asset tests to qualify. So, what's the fix? How do you get that exemption for both?
Well, the answer, the solution, it all comes down to a special little concept in the tax code. This is like the master key that can unlock the full value of that exemption.
The magic word is related. You see, if you can get your OpCo and LandCo legally considered related companies, everything changes. The rules get way more flexible. Those really tough asset tests for your LandCo, they get relaxed. And suddenly, boom, you can claim the exemption on the sale of both. So the whole game is figuring out what makes 2 companies related.
Okay, before we jump into the rules themselves, we got to get this one core idea down, the related group. It's actually pretty simple. If a group of people controls a company and every single one of them is related to every other one, think of a classic family business, mom, dad, a son, and a daughter. That's a related group. Now, what if you had 4 cousins owning a company? They aren't all directly related to each other. That makes them an unrelated group. This difference is going to be everything for the rules that follow.
All right, let's dive in, but we'll start with the easy ones. These are the first 2 rules for linking companies, and they're the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, rule number 1, super straightforward, probably the easiest one of the bunch. If the exact same person or the same related group controls both companies, then those companies are related. So if you personally own, say, 51% of your OpCo and 51% of your LandCo, congratulations, they're related. Simple as that. All right, rule number 2 just builds on that same idea. What if 2 different people control the companies? Well, if those 2 people are related to each other, their companies are related too. So, say a husband owns 100% of the LandCo and his wife owns 100% of the OpCo. Because they're related, the law says their companies are too. Makes sense, right? Okay, deep breath. We're now entering what the source material cheekily calls tax geek territory. So buckle up, the connections are about to get a little more interesting.
So rule number 3 has this really interesting twist. Imagine a brother controls the LandCo, then his sister and her son, who are a related group, right? They control the OpCo. But here's the kicker. For these specific tax purposes, the brother isn't considered related to his nephew. But it doesn't even matter. All that matters is that he's related to just one person in that controlling group, his sister. And that one single link is enough. The companies are now related. Kind of wild, right?
Rule number 4 kind of flips that logic a little bit. In this case, a grandfather controls the LandCo, and an unrelated group, his grandson and granddaughter, who are cousins to each other, not siblings, they control the OpCo. Now, for this to work, there's a key difference. The grandfather has to be related to every single member of that unrelated group. So since he's related to his grandson and his granddaughter, check, the companies are connected.
Okay, rule number 5 basically smashes the last 2 rules together. It gets a little more complex, but the logic is the same. Let's say grandma and grandpa, a related group, control the LandCo. Their grandson and granddaughter, who are cousins and therefore an unrelated group, control the OpCo. So how do you connect them? Well, you only need one person from the related group, in this case, let's say it's grandpa, to be related to every single member of the other, unrelated group. So since grandpa is related to both of his grandkids, bam, the companies are related.
Okay,
Here we go. We have officially arrived at the final boss of these related company rules. This one is a real brain teaser, but when it clicks, it's just so clever.
All right, just look at this setup for a second. The Lanco is controlled by Bob and Rick. They're just friends, an unrelated group. The OpCo is controlled by Jasmine and Cleo. They're also just friends, another unrelated group. There are no obvious family ties between the companies at all. At first glance, are these companies related? No way, right? Seems totally impossible.
But, here's the hidden connection, the twist in the story. What if Bob from the first company is married to Jasmine from the second, and what if Rick is married to Cleo? The rule is this: if each member of one group is related to a member of the other group, the companies are linked. It's this wild cross-relationship that connects two businesses that look completely separate. Just brilliant, isn't it?
Okay, so we've been deep in the weeds with all that tax geekiness. The big question is, why does any of this actually matter for you, the business owner? Well, the payoff is frankly huge. Understanding these 6 keys gives you incredible flexibility. It's all about planning ahead. It's about making sure that when you go to sell the business you've poured your life into, you don't leave millions of dollars on the table for the tax man.
And that really brings us right back to the one question you need to be asking yourself. So take a look at your own business, your assets, your family connections. Is your business structured right now to save you millions? Because thinking about these rules today could literally change your future tomorrow.